The moment Li Fan sensed the state of Xiao Heng's body, his expression immediately darkened. There were indeed faint signs that the immortal miasma had begun to disperse, but the progress was so insignificant it could almost be ignored. In your previous life, didn't it only take you a single month to completely cleanse the miasma from your body? Yet now, nearly an entire decade has passed, you've become far too complacent. Li Fan spoke to Xiao Heng in an icy tone. The voyage from Great Li to the cultivation world lasts more than 10 days. If you fail to purge the miasma before we arrive, I will personally throw you into the sea to become food for the fish. Do you understand? The instant those words reached his ears, Xiao Heng's complexion turned deathly pale, and his entire body began trembling uncontrollably. Su Chongyu cast him a helpless glance, quietly sighing to himself. Beside them, Su Xiaomei wore a gleeful expression, openly enjoying Xiao Heng's predicament. Li Fan had originally intended to quietly depart with the three of them, then it suddenly occurred to him that 10 full years had already gone by, meaning the resources accumulated by the Great Li world should be ready for collection once again. With He Zhenghao's unexpected death, no one remained to oversee this smuggling route. Since he had already come all this way, he naturally couldn't return empty-handed. After all, 2,000 contribution points were still contribution points, even. Mosquito meat was meat. Thus, he ordered the Emperor of Great Li to gather both the prepared supplies and the chosen candidates together in the central square. Li Fan addressed the assembled crowd. The cultivation world is not nearly as beautiful as you imagine. It is a place filled with countless dangers. Once you begin this journey, what awaits you may very well be almost certain death. I shall give you one final opportunity. If anyone no longer wishes to go, you may withdraw now. I will personally explain everything to your families, and no one will force you to continue. Having finished speaking, Li Fan silently swept his cold gaze across the crowd, waiting to see what choices they would make. None of those young men and women had anticipated such a warning. They exchanged uncertain glances, momentarily at a loss. Just then, a rather shrill voice rang loudly throughout the square. Please put your mind at ease, Immortal Master. Though the road toward immortality is filled with endless dangers, i.e. vaping, still choose to pursue it, even after 100 lifetimes. My resolve shall never waver, nor will I ever regret this choice. A peculiar expression crossed Li Fan's face as he turned toward the source of the voice. The moment he recognized the speaker, he couldn't decide whether to laugh or sigh. It was actually that same plump fellow from his previous life, the one who had once tried to extort Li Fan, only to be casually killed by him afterward. Such a fate. Li Fan suddenly remembered how this phenomenon had been described within the technique. Destiny flows and shifts endlessly. One single alteration gives birth to 100 more. To think he actually possesses such remarkable talent as well, perhaps, he may prove useful someday. Encouraged by those bold words, many who had hesitated finally made up their minds and chose to step onto the path of cultivation. Even so, a number of people still abandoned the opportunity. Kind intentions cannot save those fated to perish. Since you've chosen your own road, don't blame anyone when you someday meet a miserable end. Li Fan silently mused as he watched those youthful faces, filled with both anticipation and anxiety, board the Taiyan boat one after another. Aboard the Taiyan boat soaring above the Tsongyan Sea, the people from the Li world gathered across the deck, setting foot into the cultivation world for the very first time. Every pair of eyes sparkled with excitement as they looked around. The instant the Taiyan boat pierced through the immortal severing grand array and entered the cultivation world, Li Fan immediately sensed the surrounding heaven and earth's spiritual chi surging forward of its own accord, pouring directly into Su Xiaomei's body. And her body, deprived for so many years, greedily devoured every strand of spiritual chi like an endless abyss with no bottom. Crushed beneath the pressure of impending death, Xiao Heng couldn't sleep even for a moment. Within only 8 or 9 days, he had completely cleansed the immortal miasma from his body, an achievement even faster than in his previous life. Then, after entering the cultivation world, he succeeded in drawing chi into his body within a single day and night, officially stepping into the chi refinement realm. Witnessing the astonishing speed at which the two beside him advanced, Su Chongyu couldn't help feeling a trace of envy, yet he never allowed it to shake his determination. Instead, he devoted himself even more wholeheartedly to cultivating the Xianhuang Heart Clarification Sutra Li Fan had entrusted to him. He immersed himself so completely that he forgot both food and sleep, just as Li Fan himself had once done back on Lily Island. Seeing all this unfold, Li Fan gave an almost imperceptible nod of approval. After nearly 2 full years spent studying arrays, Li Fan finally decided to put his knowledge to the test. Around the Taiyan boat, he quietly established a sound and form concealment array. Though it was merely the simplest of small-scale concealment arrays, its effectiveness was more than satisfactory. With the protection of the array, Li Fan escorted the entire group safely to Yelan Island without drawing the attention of a single cultivator. After explaining the various methods for dispelling the miasma, he entrusted Yin Yuding with arranging accommodations for everyone. Afterward, he returned once again to Myriad Immortals Island and exchanged contribution points for 2 chi refinement cultivation methods. One was naturally the lesser water manipulation art, intended for Xiaoheng. The other was the Blazing Heart's Fury art, specially prepared for Su Xiaomei. Li Fan instructed them. While you remain on Yelan Island waiting for Su Chengyu, you are not to waste your time. Work together with Zhao Erbao to collect ancient artifacts. They are of great importance to me. Su Xiaomei and Xiaoheng nodded repeatedly. The road toward immortality is long and difficult. I can do no more than lead you through the gate. As for how far you walk afterward, that will depend entirely upon your own fortune. Having said that, he left each of them with a communication spirit talisman before sending them on their way. Once everything had been arranged, Li Fan immediately hurried back toward Myriad Immortals Island. A message from Gong Boi had already reached him. He Zhenghao's final masterpiece, the Mountain River 100 Veins Array diagram, had finally been completed. Astonished by how quickly everything had progressed, Li Fan immediately hurried toward the strategy array hall. Gong Boi burst into hearty laughter as soon as he saw him. Little friend, you've finally made it, come over here. Besides Gong Boi, 6 additional cultivators were already seated within the hall. They all looked to be in their 40s or 50s. Their auras profound and impossible to gauge, clearly indicating cultivation levels far beyond the ordinary. Smiling broadly, Gong Boi beckoned Li Fan to his side. Thanks to the combined efforts and collective wisdom of these old companions, we finally succeeded in restoring fellow Taoist He Zhenghao's final masterpiece after all this time. It truly is a cause for celebration. Li Fan inclined his head slightly. Fellow Taoist, he would surely find peace knowing this accomplishment was fulfilled. Gong Boi retrieved an octagonal jade token from within his sleeve and explained. This is an encrypted jade slip issued by the Myriad Immortals Alliance. Once created, each encrypted jade slip can only be opened by its designated owner. Should anyone else attempt to force it open, the self-destruction array embedded within will immediately activate and destroy it. This particular one was prepared specifically for you. Inside is the fully restored Mountain River 100 Veins Array diagram. Li Fan gave a faint nod before extending his divine sense into the jade slip to inspect its contents. Instantly, majestic mountain ranges unfolded vividly within the depths of Li Fan's consciousness. Looking more closely, he realized that every grain of earth and every fragment of stone making up those mountains was, astonishingly, a miniature array, countless microscopic arrays intertwined layer upon layer, ultimately forming an entire mountain, a colossal grand array taking the shape of a mountain itself. The overwhelming torrent of information made Li Fan instinctively draw a sharp breath. This was clearly not something a mere chi refinement cultivator was meant to comprehend. He had no doubt that if an ordinary late-stage chi refinement cultivator attempted to forcibly examine the Mountain River 100 Veins Array diagram, the unimaginable flood of information alone would instantly shatter their mind beyond repair. Without the slightest hesitation, he withdrew his divine sense and carefully stored the diagram back inside his storage ring. After a brief silence, Gong Boi spoke in a comforting tone. The path of arrays depends greatly upon one's natural aptitude. It's perfectly normal if your progress feels somewhat slow. There's no need to burden yourself with it. Li Fan found himself completely agreeing and nodded lightly. Unexpectedly, those very words immediately provoked another cultivator seated nearby. Nonsense. The path of arrays is built upon relentless diligence. Gong Boi, you may possess extraordinary talent in array cultivation, But do you truly dare claim your understanding of arrays surpasses mine? Li Fan turned toward the speaker. The man possessed snow-white hair, yet his eyes remained exceptionally sharp, their piercing gaze making it difficult for anyone to meet them directly. Gong Boy replied with a rather helpless smile. Brother Zhiliang, there's really no need to get so worked up. I merely offered a few words of encouragement to a junior. Why take it so seriously? Besides, everyone knows that you, Zhang Zhiliang, are the foremost array master on Myriad Immortals Island. Zhang Zhiliang let out a cold snort, obviously dissatisfied with Gong Boy's casual attitude. The path of arrays demands absolute dedication and unwavering sincerity. How could anyone speak of it so carelessly? He then fixed his stern gaze upon Li Fan. Young man, never allow yourself to become discouraged. At the end of my second year studying arrays, my score on the knowledge appraisal sphere was even lower than yours. For 5 full centuries, I devoted nearly every waking moment to researching arrays. Step by painstaking step, I advanced little by little, until I eventually reached my current level of mastery over the Tao of arrays. Diligence is more than capable of overcoming a lack of talent, especially along the path of arrays, though arrays are often said to possess endless transformations. The number of fundamental array templates commonly used is actually finite, and they can all be mastered through persistent effort, so long as you devote yourself wholeheartedly, never becoming lazy and never giving up. Who can say that, after several hundred years, you will not stand among the great masters of arrays yourself? Hearing those heartfelt words, Li Fan's expression became solemn. Thank you for your invaluable guidance, Senior. I will engrave your teachings deeply into my heart. Having finished speaking, Zhang Zhiliang's expression gradually softened. After quietly observing Li Fan for a moment, he continued in a measured voice. While diligence can indeed make up for natural shortcomings, having an experienced master to guide you at the beginning is equally indispensable. I, too, benefited immensely from studying He Zhenghao's Mountain River 100 Veins array diagram. By bringing the incomplete version here, you have done me a considerable favor, so tell me, would you be willing to remain at my side and learn the Tao of arrays under my guidance?